accordance with Open Public Meeting Act 10:4-6 et seq. Annual notice having been forwarded to the New Jersey Herald and the New Jersey Sunday Herald and posted on the bulletin board maintained in the municipal building for public announcements. Would you please rise and join me in, oh, it's being recorded, okay. Join us in a salute to the flag. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America,
To
and
the
to the
republic
republic which stands one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. Danielle, would you please call the roll?
Sure. Mr. Bongiovanni? Anthony?
Anthony, you're muted.
He's here. Mr. Duncan?
Here.
Mr. Gaffney?
Here.
Mrs. Crock?
Here.
Mr. Lejo? Mr. Rayhill? Mr. Ray? Mr. Riley?
Here.
Mr. Toppin?
Here.
Councilman Schindler?
Here.
Oh, he's here. Mayor Francis?
Here.
Mr. Gilbert?
Here. Oaths of office. Mr. Rayhill is not here, but Mr. Bongiovanni is. Bill, have you
Have the oath of office in front of you?
Anthony?
Anthony, unmute yourself. There you go.
Anthony, you're muted.
Hey, Anthony, unmute yourself.
There we go.
There you go.
I'm having trouble with my cell service, so I'm trying to go in over my phone, but that's not working either.
You look good.
Anyway, can you hear me?
Yes.
All right, regarding the oath of office, I don't have that in front of me. I'm sorry, I do. Didn't we do that last week, over last meeting?
He wasn't here.
Okay.
You do have it in front of you, Mr. Bongiovanni?
I have it.
Okay, would you raise your right hand? Okay,
Yes.
and then can you read the statement in front of you?
Yes, I will. I, Anthony Bongiovanni, do solemnly swear that I will support the Constitution of the United States and the Constitution of the State of New Jersey, that I will bear true faith and allegiance to the same and to the governments established in the United States and in this state, under the authority of the people, and that I will faithfully, impartially, and justly perform all the duties of alternate 3, Class 4 land use member of the Borough of Hopatcong to the best of my ability. So help me God.
Very good. Then you'll sign a copy of that statement, and Danielle, I can notarize that, and that's fine.
Okay.
Okay?
Okay. Thank you. Minutes of last meeting have been distributed electronically. Are there any additions or corrections to the minutes? Seeing none, I will entertain a motion for approval.
I'll make that motion.
I'll second it.
And that's Mr. Riley.
Mr. Bongiovanni?
Yes.
Mr. Duncan?
Yes.
Mr. Gaffney?
Yes.
Mrs. Crock?
Yes.
Mr. Riley?
Yes.
Mr. Toppin?
Yes.
Councilman Schindler?
Yes.
Mayor Francis?
Yeah.
Mr. Gilbert?
Yes. Thank you. Work session. First, we have 68 Burns Development Incorporated, 452 Lakeside Boulevard. Gideon Raviv, president, would like to discuss changing the building to residential with a commercial area on the roof with a gym. Also adding another level to the building, totaling 3 stories. Is Mr. Raviv here or somebody representing him? Mr. Raviv, or anyone representing Mr. Raviv here? Okay, then I'll move on.
I'd
to-
ask.
Go ahead.
I was going to say if they want to hit the reaction buttons, if somebody wants to do that, but I haven't seen anybody indicate anything, Alan.
No, okay. All right, we'll move on to the second work session. Jamesh Patel. Mr. Patel would like to discuss changing the building to affordable senior housing if approved by the USDA, or changing the building into an apartment complex with 1 and 2 bedroom apartments. Is Mr. Patel here?
Yes, yes, I do,
Ah,
sir.
Mr. Patel,
How are you,
nice.
sir?
Nice to hear you, sir. You're on. Go ahead and tell us what you want to do. Ask us any questions that you have. I'd like to limit this discussion to 30 minutes if possible.
Okay, my cousin is on the line, Sal.
Okay,
He's going
Sal
to-
Marciano? Sal,
Yes.
you're muted.
You're muted, Sal.
You're still muted. Oh, gotta have a teenager unmute.
How about
you. There
now?
you
There we
go.
go.
How about now? No, I'm not. Thank God. Thank you for that.
Okay,
How are we guys doing tonight?
good.
So we have a couple of questions about the asbestos in the building. Do we know how much quantity?
We don't know anything substantial about the building. You'd have to discuss that with the Board of Ed or their representatives.
Okay,
The
number
purpose-
number
the
two,
I-
the parking area, there's a playground on the side of the building.
Yes.
Can we change that into a parking lot and make a driveway up into that area?
Other members of the board want to answer that?
Why not?
Yeah, why not? That should be fine. If you looked, did you look at our marketing plan that was done for the building?
Yes.
Okay. If you notice that there was a 4-story building in one of the back pages with a parking deck garage next to it.
Okay.
I don't know if there was a connecting down to the street near the parking garage, but that was there, okay? And we are looking for something that is an upgrade from the school.
Okay, and is there a limit on the apartments that we could put into the building?
No.
Yes.
We don't
You
have
mean
any.
the number of apartments?
Yeah, we have in mind like 40 to 45 apartments.
It's going to be based on parking spaces too.
Okay,
They need relief for the number of parking spaces, potentially.
Okay.
Right,
okay.
potential.
And
Thank
the
you.
parking pad across the road,
Yes.
if that cannot be used for parking, what can we do with that site?
Well, the borough has rights to that site when school is not in session.
Okay,
So since it will no longer be used as a school, I would think that the site reverts to use by the borough for borough parking.
It would be a municipal parking lot with shared usage, pretty much. I think that was the intent of the
Yeah.
original agreement.
Right, but I would not hang my hat on just assuming you're going to get X spots because you want X units.
Yeah, that would more be based on the parking by that you asked about at the beginning by the
yes, by the
playground.
by the playground.
Right.
And on sprinkler systems, since there's no sprinkler systems in the school, is there a requirement on sprinkler systems for the amount of apartments we're putting in?
We'll ask Sam about that. Samantha?
Code issue.
Generally, if it's 3 floors, it would definitely need sprinklers. That's in the construction code. 3 floors or more definitely needs sprinklers. If it's kept at 2 floors, that might have to be looked into. That would be a code requirement from the building department. But I can tell you that if it's 3 floors or more, that sprinklers are definitely required.
So this is right now is 2 floors. So
Yes.
I think we don't need that sprinkler.
Do your homework.
Three or more, we need sprinklers.
Okay, so we're good on that.
Okay, so the parking situation, We would like to build some kind of driveway in front of the building so people could get to the back of the property where the parking spots are. Is that possible? Do you have to access it on a sharp incline from where the
That
parking?
depends on the steep slope and things like that. I don't see why not, but Sam, do you have any thoughts of that?
Where are you proposing the driveway? Can you explain that again, just so I'm
Well,
clear?
if we're gonna try to get a senior citizen living center,
Right?
I'm thinking people really can't walk up that hill. And
Mhm.
I'm trying to get a driveway up into the front of the school from the road that could go to the
Okay.
back where the playground exists. So if you had to drop them off by the elevator service,
Gotcha. So a sort of drive up
exactly.
driveway that you can pick up or drop off,
Exactly.
residents of the, yeah, I mean, absolutely. The grading would just have to be such that, it could be designed for that. Of course, if variances may have to be requested for either, from steep slopes or there are ordinances about driveway grades, so it would need to meet those, or, additional variances would need to be requested. But, an engineer that's working on a grading plan could probably come up with a plan that was, that would get that accomplished. And
Okay,
for the
That's
need,
good
that
enough.
seems reasonable.
okay. Yeah, that's all we have right now. My biggest question was the asbestos. I know you guys don't have no.
Yeah, we have no.
Did you look at the environmental report?
Yeah, we looked at it, yeah.
We looked at it, but it seemed like,
$1 million to remove the asbestos, it says.
yeah, it seemed like a little too high for that size of a building, but
Well, they had done a bunch of work already.
Oh, they done.
So, but you need to do your research on that.
Richard?
Are you planning on raising the building, or are you planning on just
No.
remodeling?
no, just keeping it the same height and just using the schoolrooms that they exist and turning them into apartments.
Hmm.
Richard, why don't you give him the discussion about what we're looking at from the board on any new developments in that area, matching what we're trying to do, like the facades on the front of the building, like.
Yeah, see, if I can call you Sal.
Yeah, that's fine.
We're really trying to upgrade the area if we can.
Yes, yeah, I
okay?
understand.
And the facade is very important. My personal opinion, I would like to see the building raised and something new brought up, but that's my opinion. But in general, we're really looking for something that is going to be a crown jewel for the area. It's going to help continue the redevelopment in that area. And, so if you look at the other houses or condos that have been built, or the apartments that have been built with the commercial underneath and the apartments up top, or the condos down near the bridge, there's sort of a feel that you get. But, for a senior complex, that would be fabulous, I think.
Well, I look at the lake is close by.
Yes.
Senior people, seniors could go down to the lake. Building a retail stores underneath would be a great idea if we had abundance of parking. But since parking is limited there, I can't see putting retail underneath that.
No,
Also keep in mind that the retail space that was built in the other place has not even sold.
Exactly.
Yeah,
Or the design intent, not so much that retail would be under it.
right.
Or the design appeal of one of those two structures that are up now, kind of staying in that tone rather than the institutional look of that of a school.
Oh, no, we'll change the appearance of the school will be gone. But I don't want to put something extravagant and not have nothing going in.
Well,
And then it would be an empty space.
Business, it can be all residential.
Yes,
Yes.
That's
It
what
can
we're,
be all senior residential, or
that's what we're trying, that's our
Right.
goal right now, trying to get it to go that way.
Mhm.
We don't want to raise the building, I'll be honest with you, because the expense and the parking, there would be no parking available for the more apartments we put in. There's just no parking there.
Right.
So to put another level on and not have any parking and put all that expenses, it would make no sense for my end. For maybe other people see a different view, but I don't see it at that view.
would you consider this a 50 senior citizen housing? Would you consider it 55 or 65? And what's your age parameter that you're trying to gauge?
I would consider with the lake there, I'd be honest with you, I would either go 55 and above.
Okay.
You get active people, go to the lake, go shopping, put money into town, and they don't have to pay that big money of owning their own homes in that area and pay all that taxes.
Are these rentals or owner? They get a
I would
rent-
probably go towards rental. I wouldn't go towards owning.
Okay.
I think you have a good market for that, quite frankly. Our market study did talk about that.
Yeah, I agree. I think that's the best way for that building to be used at this proper time. You know, we would.
And I have experience on that because I own another senior housing in the different area.
I believe we have a lot of seniors in town that would take advantage of that from the feedback that I get.
Yes.
Yeah, like Mr. Janis is saying, we do have a 64-unit senior housing in Pennsylvania, so we do have experience in handling a senior citizen facility.
Okay.
All right, gentlemen and ladies, I don't want to keep you there too late.
Thank you
Those
very
are a few
much, Sal.
questions I had.
Thank you.
Does anybody from the board have questions for Mr. Marciano or Janesh?
Sal, I think you should really take a look at that environmental report. I think the asbestos has been remediated. There were a bunch of tiles that were the issue. So, you know.
What about the crawl space in the building, the fuel lines? Is that wrapped in asbestos? I didn't get to look at it, so I don't know.
Don't know.
Okay.
Don't know.
All right, no problem.
Okay.
Okay, thank you very
All
much,
right.
gentlemen.
Thank you.
Good
Thank
luck.
you.
Good night. Thank you.
Okay.
Good night.
Bye-bye.
Extension, Charles Wendland, 338 Maxim. Mr. Wendland would like to extend a previously granted variance for March 6, 2018. Mr. Wendland, are you here?
Yes.
My understanding, I spoke with Danielle this afternoon, that notice was a problem with a couple of the property owners, I assume, on the 200-foot list, in the sense that the notice didn't indicate the date of tonight's meeting.
I walked away.
This is for Mr. Wendland's application?
Yes.
Bill,
Of the
does he-
publication,
Why is he
Yeah.
even here? I thought we straightened this out at the last meeting, that he has already started this project. This is just a continuation. I don't see why he needs an extension at all.
you don't have to notice within a year of the expiration of a variance. You can just make application to the board without notice. The ordinance reads, if it's beyond that, then notice would be called for.
But we memorialized allowing him to put the driveway and the garage. The driveway is already in, so
Yes,
I don't see where he needs anything to continue the project.
Well, Mr. Donegan pointed out in the ordinance, it says each and every structure that is
Okay.
approved is to be started within the time frame. It talks about each structure, and there's distinct structures here because this is a detached garage in this case.
Right. Okay. And this is within the time frame. I mean, it doesn't. It was memorialized March 6th of 2018. So
Yeah, he's just within the time frame.
so,
What's the time? Years?
so we can continue with this.
We could continue because it's within the 1 year period after that notice.
Bill, what is the time frame for that? 2 years or 3?
It's 2-year approval. You can come back within a year for a reapproval. Beyond that, you need notice.
Okay,
But
March 18, 2020 is your 2 years. We're sitting here in 2021. Correct?
Oh,
Right.
yeah. You're right.
March the 8th, yeah, it's 2 years, so that goes to 2020, right?
Yep.
Yep.
And then you've got a year after that, which goes to March of 21, right?
Yeah.
So he's within the 1 year
Extension.
period. Mhm.
Yeah, but if we have a problem with the notice, then it's going to have to be done again.
Well, yeah, what I would suggest is to keep it clean is just announce tonight that it'll be carried to the next meeting, that he has to notice the owners within 200 feet, but not in the Herald again. Please save a little bit of money.
Okay, everybody understand that? Mr. Wendland, do you understand that?
I guess I do. I understand the Herald didn't publish it right. So I have to
Oh,
notify her.
Mr. Wendland, the Herald did publish it right. I checked the paper that you gave me and I checked the newspaper. The problem is I got a call from two of the neighbors questioning the application and told me that there was no meeting date on their letters. I tried calling you this afternoon, but your mailbox is full, so I couldn't leave you a message.
There was no, I will find the letter I gave you. Okay, so I'll read the letter.
Notification.
And okay, we'll just hold everything till. So we will continue this until the next meeting. Somebody want to make a motion?
Make a motion.
Okay, we're going to continue it until the meeting of February 16th.
Does that give him time to get the notifications out?
Because the notice was defective.
Yeah.
It has to be done by this Friday.
Okay.
It just it has to be mailed by Friday.
Yes.
Okay. Do we have a second to that motion?
Any changes to the garage?
What's that, Bob?
Wanted to know if he had intended to make any changes to what was originally improved. That's all.
Other than I changed engineers and they changed a couple of grading plan numbers.
But no structural changes.
No structural, but Carriega had some errors.
Okay.
Okay, did we get a second? I think Judy seconded.
I'll second it. I'll second Daniel.
Okay. Mr. Bongiovanni,
Yes.
Mr. Duncan,
Yes.
Mr. Gaffney,
Yes.
Mrs. Crock,
Yes.
Mr. Riley,
Yes.
Mr. Toppin,
Yeah.
Councilman
Yes.
Schindler,
Yes.
Mayor Francis,
Yeah.
Mr. Gilbert.
Yes. Okay, we'll see you on 16th, Mr. Wendland.
Thank you.
Okay, we have three new applications. First, we have Mr. Jarosh, block 20002, lot 7, 116 Stanhope, Sparta Road. The applicant is requesting a lot line adjustment to alleviate an issue with a retaining wall currently on lots 6 and 7. Variance being requested is 242-43E. Is Mr. Jarosh or a representative here?
He's here, he's muted.
Mr. Jarosh, you're muted. You have to go to the lower left-hand corner. There you go.
There you go.
Mr.
There you're on.
Jarosh. Good evening, everyone.
Hello. Are you Mr. Jarosh or you?
Yes.
You are. Okay.
Mr. Jarish, would you please raise your right hand?
Yes.
The testimony you're about to give will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
Yes.
And you're the property owner of block 20002, lot 7?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Do you want to tell us what it is that you want to do, sir?
Okay. I will be purchasing land from my neighbor, Mrs. Beth Williams and Mr. Eric Van Houten from 120 Stanhope, Sparta Road. It's approximately 15,000 square feet that we came to an agreement. It is, from my property line, it's 25 feet to the left, and it's going to be approximately 100, I want to say 85 feet to the state land is where it would end.
Okay. Now, is this the property out on the Sparta Stanhope Road that a second story was just put on?
Yes.
If I remember correctly, when that application was heard, you were not the property owner.
It's actually myself and my father who are the property owners here.
Oh, okay. Okay. I remembered that the person who showed up that night didn't speak English very well.
Yeah,
And that, you came to represent him as well.
that was my father, Frank.
All right. So that would alleviate that. When I went up to see that property, I noticed that you were very, very close to property lines on in the back as well as on the side, almost encroaching. So this would alleviate that whole problem.
Yes. Limit the liability between myself and my neighbor as far as what we have going on in the backyard.
Yes. Okay. Anybody else from the board have questions or comments?
Makes sense to me.
All right, let me open it to the public. Would anybody from the public like to comment or ask questions about this application? If you do, go to the bottom of your screen to reactions and raise your hand, please. Okay, seeing none, I'll bring it back to the board. Would somebody like to make a motion?
Motion to approve.
One question. Will this all be deeded in one lot?
Yes, one lot, correct.
Be deeded to one lot.
The plan shows a significant portion of the driveway is located off the property and some improvements, right?
Yeah, that was the entrance to the basement when I filed for this like a year ago.
Okay, your driveway is located on the adjacent lot, is that, am I looking at that correctly?
Yes.
Is there an easement for the driveway, or what do you have there?
Yeah, there's an easement for the driveway, yep.
Okay, and is that your wood shed that's located on the map that's on the other lot, or?
Yes.
Okay, and also your paver block wall on the other lot? Okay, I just would like a copy of the deed of easement, that's all, so we make sure we're.
I think if I'm not mistaken, I believe those issues were brought up during the last application. Is that correct?
Yes.
And that those issues were rectified during the last application. And I think one of the remaining issues was this stone wall in the rear that belonged to the property owners to your left, as opposed to all the other improvements that were on the property to the right. So in doing this lot line adjustment, not only is the lot being made closer to conforming by enlarging it, increasing your setbacks, but you're also taking, ownership of what you do currently maintain. That's that stone wall in the rear and that improved area. Is that correct?
Yes, ma'am.
That's exactly right. He's actually, lot line adjustment's actually doing what we wrestled with when we did the initial variances. So this just makes it better.
I just would add that the letter from our office dated January 7th, there was a couple items in there that have to do with, the filing of the deed, conforming with the, the title recordation law, meets and bounds descriptions. I would just ask that, any motion include those conditions. That way it could be reviewed properly before the deeds are filed.
Include that in my motion.
Okay. Do we have a second to the motion?
Second.
Okay. Danielle?
Mr. Bongiovanni,
Yes.
Mr. Duncan,
Yes.
Mr. Gaffney,
Yes.
Mrs. Crock,
Yes.
Mr. Riley,
Yes.
Mr. Chapin,
Yes.
Councilman Schindler,
Yes.
Mayor Francis,
Yes.
Mr. Gilbert.
Yes. Okay, thank you very much, Mr. Jarish.
Thank you.
Okay, second, we have Charles Shapiro, block 50508, lots 4 and 5, 7 Coulter Place. The applicant would like to construct a second floor addition. There are certain variances required. Mr. Shapiro, you're here. Please mute yourself.
Just a second. I have to step out of this. He's my neighbor.
Okay.
Doctor, you need to unmute yourself.
Oh, she's still muted,
Uh,
Dr.
we're-
Shapiro.
Unmuted.
Oh, there you go.
There we go.
Good
evening.
Well,
Okay.
Don and I are here.
All right, Bill, you want to? So,
Kindly,
Dr. Shapiro, is anybody else going to be testifying?
I'm the only one well, I don't know, Bill, Joe Gates should be online here someplace.
Joe, are you here?
Yeah, here. Joe's here.
There he is. Okay. Bill, you want to swear them both in?
each of you please raise your right hand and hands. Do you swear the testimony you're about to give will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
Yes, I do.
Yes, I do.
And recite your names for the record.
Charles Andrew Shapiro.
Joseph A. Gates, Gates Architectural Design.
And Mr. Gates, you're currently licensed in the state of New Jersey as an architect, isn't that correct?
That is correct since 1992.
And you've testified many times before this board,
Yes, I have.
and you participated in the preparation of these plans.
Yes, I have.
Bill, is this a D variance?
Well, let's just see.
I don't think so.
No,
Pre-existing non-conforming use?
no.
No, no use.
It's not a non-conforming use, right?
No.
You-
Correct.
It's a-
It's just bulk variances.
It's
Yeah.
just, right,
Why
see
does
there,
it say why does it say pre-existing non-conforming, Indy?
well, pre-existing non-conforming conditions that are bulk variance conditions. Is that right, Mr. Gates?
That is correct. The application does indicate that it's the top item on the checklist, variance relief for hardship or benefit, but not use variance. Use is not checked off on the application.
Yeah,
Right.
so the
Okay.
pre-existing non-conformities that are pointed out, but not a use issue.
That's correct. It's a single family home in a single family residence.
Right.
Okay. Just checking.
All right. Dr. Gates, have you received by the way, we have correspondence from the Lake Hopatcong Commission on this. Did you receive a copy of that, Dr. Gates or Joe?
Just for clarification, it's Dr. Shapiro. I'm
Dr.
Mr. Gates.
Shapiro,
I'm not,
Mr. Gates.
I'm not that privileged. Unless it snuck in late today, let me double check real fast.
No, that falls on me. I was going to send those out yesterday and then we didn't go into work yesterday, so I
Yeah,
apologize. I
February
can-
28th.
I
January
imagine.
20th. Okay, I'll get to that in a moment.
Okay.
Before we do, are you in receipt of the letter from Mont McDonald dated December 12th, 2020?
Yes, we are. And the drafting revisions have been incorporated into the plans already, which you have in front of you.
Right.
And the other items, we will go through that letter, but there's no, we're in agreement with those items. There's no issues on the
Okay.
Shapiro's part. with that.
I have a question. I'm looking at the survey from Held, dated 12/14/2012, and it seems to me that the wood dock out has been expanded.
No, the dock is the original size, the same footprint.
I beg to differ with you. I don't think it is. Because if you look at the plan, at that survey, it shows the dock stopping at a certain place and then a wood dock on the adjacent property. And there's quite a bit of space between them. And that space does not exist today.
That dock was actually moved. Their dock was moved. That dock on the adjacent property was actually moved over.
Moved over to,
Conform with the existing, with the 10-foot, I guess the 10-foot limit on the, close to the property line. So
yeah.
those docks next door were actually redone this summer.
Well, so something doesn't make sense. Because I walked all around that place the other day and I looked at the hot tub. I went down the right side, the left side. And when I look at where the hot tub is and I look at where the dock comes, there is no way that that dock is offset from the hot tub to the left as the plans show.
I have boat lifts. I have lifts there. It's not the dock.
Well,
And they were supposedly filed by AAA, who did the construction.
well, what do you have, Danielle? Okay. I'm looking at that, same thing. When was construction on those docks done?
Those docks were done, my dock, the dock on the right-hand side that you see by the place says find X cut, those docks were moved this summer, and they put a U dock over there. Those docks were moved this summer. My main docks were replaced probably 3 years ago, I believe, but I don't know. You know, I can't give you the exact dates here. I don't have that in this folder.
Okay, well, we're looking at a survey which was done in 2012.
That's when I bought
So if
the
your
property.
docks were redone 3 or 4 years ago, then that would I get that. That would explain a little bit about why they don't conform. But I would like to see something that says that they're allowed.
I may actually, if you give me a second, I think I have the thing from the state park. Hold on.
While he's looking for that, let me ask Bill Haggerty and Sam, if that dock has been expanded, would there be a problem?
Could be.
It could be if they needed variances for the expansion or a
That's what
permit
I
from the
thought.
DEP. It's possible, but under this scope, I don't know that we could review it properly without knowing what was built.
But we should have an accurate survey to show what's
Right.
actually.
Do we have building permits on them?
I know I filed it. I came down to town hall because they wanted everything on from the Lake Hopatcong, I guess the state park.
So
that
there
was
were
all
building permits.
filed.
I believe there were. I remember doing some zoning. I don't remember exactly what it was. But I believe it was same size, same location, but I don't have that paperwork in front of me.
Mm-hmm.
But it had come to our office for that work.
All right, so if you went through the state, went through us, then they were permitted.
Well, at the very least, as Bill Haggerty said, we should have an accurate survey.
I mean, I have no difficulty with that. I mean, I'm just looking to see if I have it with me here. But I think that's actually in the house itself.
Mm-hmm.
Perhaps the recommendation would be that, should the board view this favorably as a condition of approval when the work is done, and as-built be submitted, and that as-built would also include the improvements that were done to the dock, as well as any improvements that will be done,
Okay.
as a result of this application, if the board wants to go that route.
Absolutely.
Okay. Then we can get on to the application as it is.
Okay.
If I can just add one comment for clarification in reply to John Rushkey's letter.
Yeah.
The revisions on the plans there's various clouds on the zoning analysis. There are no design changes from the original submission to the current revised plans. The only clarifications were for setback purposes. For example, the back existing deck, we had measured to the corner of the deck, and they clarified that we need to measure to the stairs. So we adjusted the dimension. It's existing with no change. And then one of the other variances, we had existing non-conforming for coverage, but there is a minor increase in coverage. So Mr. Rushkey did point out that we did have to notice for a variance for that. Again, so it's more clouds than it looks like. The other clouds just differentiated the accessory structures between the garage and the shed. Because there were questions about the shed dimensions, we wanted to just clarify and add the line items for both of those. So again, there's no design changes in any physical dimensions of the existing structure or the proposed structure.
Okay, then what does the coverage turn out to be?
The coverage, which is noted on the bottom left of your plan, the building coverage goes from 14.45% to 15.92%. And that's triggered by the cantilever of the second floor. Easiest place to see it is if you look at the middle bottom of your drawing, the left side elevation that Danielle has up, you'll see the second floor cantilevers out. It cantilevers 2 feet out for the building, and that's noted in the chart as 100 square feet. But then the balcony is also cantilevered off that for 175 square feet. So it's a total of 275 square feet.
Right.
And that is all cantilevered. So that's the increase in building coverage. For the lot coverage goes from 34.23% to 35.04%. And that was where the extra 0.5% that Mr. Rushkey wanted to make sure we clarify that is because it's a change, it's a new variance, not existing non-conforming.
Right. Okay.
And that was noticed in the advertisements and letter to the paper.
And Mr. Gates was, I believe there was a question in our letter about the shed in the rear of the property, if there was any existing non-conforming and or variances required for that shed and its location. Can you comment on that?
Yes, by all means. If you notice on the plot plan, the only reason we clouded those, we did have the shed in the drawings already. It was correctly dimensioned in the zoning analysis, but we didn't have physical dimensions on the plan. So we added dimensions. And that's the reason we clarified with the clouds. It looks like a lot more than it really is, but we wanted to just make sure we covered it since it was a question between the shed versus the garage. So there's no change to the shed.
Great. And while we're on the topic of the Mott McDonald letter, bedrooms, was there any additional bedrooms being added?
No, there's a total of 3 bedrooms. 2 of them are opened up downstairs to accommodate the new stairs to the second floor. And the leftover space is an open den. And the 2 bedrooms are relocated to the new second floor. So it remains 3 bedrooms.
Okay. And regarding the well, do they have their own well or is this a shared well situation?
It is their own well.
Okay, excellent. Great. Thank you for clarifying.
You're welcome.
Does anybody else from the board have any questions, comments?
Does the den have any closets in it?
No, it does not. The den has about a 7-foot opening where the wall was removed. So it's actually open space that takes up 1 whole bedroom plus the additional, another 1/3 of the adjacent bedrooms. That's opened up to the existing living room. And that's depicted in the first floor plan with the dotted lines as demolition lines.
Essentially, you're staying in the same footprint?
That's correct. The first floor footprint does not change with respect to the building perimeter. The second floor cantilevers out, and that's the reason that the increase of the building coverage changes. It's cantilevered, and it is cantilevered over the existing deck, but regardless, that's all not impervious. That's all open decking.
And you're familiar with the houses in the area of this property?
Oh, that's correct. Right.
Okay. And this would be consistent with and in keeping with those houses?
That's correct. Typically, a lot of the projects that we've worked on in town, certainly getting some of the smaller bedrooms on the first floor, some of the old summer bungalows, they're bedrooms that are 10 by 10, 10 by 12 with small closets. So by moving them to the second floor, it does two things. It offers the Shapiros the opportunity to get a nice master bedroom toward the lake with a balcony toward the lake to take advantage of the water views, which is why everybody likes to do that on the lake to enlarge. But it also lets them get with a minor cantilever to not do any site disturbance on the project. You will notice, and again, just for clarification, there is a small balcony at the street side. So in your drawings, it's the top right of the second floor plan. And that is reflected in the zoning analysis and building coverage. So that's a cantilever balcony off of bedroom number 3. So again, the footprint for the most part remains the same. We felt this was the best way to be able to help them with the design to get the bedrooms for a house that they could live in a long time, take full advantage of the lake with doing very minimal site disturbance to this. They've been in town for decades here, multi-generation, and they really felt that they want to keep the house intact. And that's also why you'll notice the living room in the middle of the house that's shown as open below. They like the idea of the loft look. There's a cathedral ceiling in there already with a big stone fireplace in the middle of it that they have certainly become attached to over the decades. So this whole design is based on keeping that middle living room a nice 2-story space, giving them the idea of the original construction, but then also giving them new, bathrooms, bathroom, bedroom on the second floor, consistent with similar projects in the area.
Okay.
Anybody else? Anything else from the board? Then I will open it up to the public. Would anybody from the public like to question or comment on this application? Ms. Lyons, Colleen Lyons, representing the Lake Hopatcong Commission, I believe. You're muted. There
Can you
you
hear me now? Hi, do I need to be sworn in?
Ms. Lyons, please, do you swear the testimony about to give will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
I do.
Okay, and you're speaking on behalf of the commission?
That's correct. So I think I have a better understanding of the project now and that it is mostly staying within the same footprint. But I did just want to draw attention to the percent increase over the ordinance maximum, which I believe is 25%. Is that correct?
Yes, that's correct.
That's correct. Okay. So I think there is an opportunity here to deal with maybe some of the sins of the past in such a large increase over the ordinance maximum, and we can deal with stormwater management on individual properties, and that can impact water quality of the lake. So the commission was recommending some green stormwater infrastructure on the property, such as a rain garden. And in the letter, I did mention that we set the date now, March 3rd, the commission's hosting a rain garden workshop, and participants are eligible for a $450 rain garden rebate if they install a rain garden. So it's a good opportunity to add stormwater infrastructure to the property. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much, Ms. Lyons. Okay.
Can I ask her a question?
Yes, go ahead.
I'd like to know, based upon what science on my property does it show that I have a rainwater problem?
Well, the municipality set a standard of 25% based on the size of your lot. And that was to prevent overbuilding of the lots, and just having an increased amount of impervious coverage on any property increases stormwater runoff. Stormwater runoff.
I'm not increasing impervious coverage.
No, you're not increasing it, but what I'm saying is that the ordinance specifies 25% as the maximum for a property of your size.
But
And
you're basically, but there are properties that have 90% of their properties covered. And I actually have a very, very open property where most of the water that drains from all of Coulter Place goes down my property, and you know what? It goes across grass. I mean,
Okay, so as it travels across grass, it does pick up sediments and soil carries phosphorus. So
I
that's what
don't
we're
use any
trying
of
to.
these fertilizers.
No, you wouldn't have to. New Jersey soils would have enough phosphorus in them just on their own to carry phosphorus through the soil.
Okay,
Dr. Shapiro.
let me stop you there. My base degree is actually biology and ecology. So
Same
I
as mine.
understand what you're talking about, but I don't actually see where I'm not changing anything on my property where this is becoming an issue.
Well, Dr. Shapiro, she's not saying that you're changing anything. It's that you currently have 34.23% covered.
Oh, and the other thing is we actually, I don't know, Joe, did we recalculate based upon the size of my driveway where it curves around Coulter Place, actually?
We had discussed that. That does not change the existing versus proposed coverage.
Oh, okay, I'm sorry.
Because the existing versus proposed is that 1%.
Someone's dog there set my dog off.
Yeah.
That's my dog setting your dog off, sorry. Right, so just from just to provide a little background, the commission is just reviewing land use applications to try and provide recommendations to the land use boards.
Okay,
The land use boards aren't under any, they don't have to take our recommendations. Some take them and ask their applicants to do almost exactly what we propose, and some, do not. So that's the board's preference, and we just make recommendations. That's really.
Okay, thank you.
Okay. All right. Anybody else from the public want to comment or question this application? Anybody at all? Okay, seeing none, I will bring it back to the board. Somebody from the board like to make a motion, or does anybody from the board have additional questions or comments? Okay, how about a motion?
I'll make the motion to approve it, but I'd like to see an as-built survey instead of the one that's we have currently.
Okay.
Inclusive of anything that's been developed, the decks, the docks, so we have the right down. I'll second it.
Danielle? You're muted, Danielle.
Sorry.
There you go.
Mr. Bongiovanni? Anthony?
Yes.
Okay. Mr. Duncan?
Yes.
Mr. Gaffney?
Yes.
Mrs. Crock?
Yes.
Mr. Toppin?
Yes.
Councilman Schindler?
Yes.
Mayor Francis?
Yes.
Mr. Gilbert?
No. Okay, Dr. Shapiro, you have it.
So what is the end result? Just so I just.
Okay, the end result is that your project has been approved, subject to an as-built survey showing everything when it's done. You can either wait a month and we will memorialize this, or if you want to start on the work almost immediately, you can request a waiver of memorialization, which would then allow you to go into the building department and begin pulling permits right away.
I think I can wait to be memorialized because I still need to get estimates and everything else based upon the approved plan. So
okay, fine.
I thank everybody.
Okay, thank you very much for
Have a good
coming
night,
tonight.
Thank you, ladies and gentlemen.
Mr. Gates, thank you also.
Have a good evening. Hopefully
too.
stop shoveling it, everyone. Thank you.
Okay, we have one more application. And this was the addendum. This is Jerry Lesh, block 31101, lot 38, 231 Maxim Drive. The applicant would like to remove 5 existing houses, etc. This was actually approved, and then the property was sold to Mr. Lesh. This was approved for Mr., oh, who was it?
Gordon.
Mr. Gordon. And then there was a problem with the family, I think, and he wound up selling the property to Mr. Lesh. And since the plans are changed, the original approval required that Mr. Lesh come back in to us. So, Mr. Lesh, are you here?
And the 5 houses down at this point.
Okay, and Bill, do you want to swear him in and anybody else who is going to?
Mr. Chairman, if I may, it's Richard Oler. I'm the attorney for Mr. Lesh.
Okay.
And we will actually have testimony ultimately from Fred Stewart. So, Bill, perhaps you could swear both of those in, please.
Please raise your right hands. Do you swear the testimony you're about to give will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
I do.
And state your names, please.
Jerry Lesh?
Okay, Mr. Lesh, you're the property owner?
Yes, I am.
Okay. And Mr. Stewart?
Yes, Fred Stewart, professional engineer and land surveyor. Prepared
And
for
you're
plans.
Mr. Stewart will be providing engineering testimony. Would you like him to review his qualifications now or when we get to him?
When we get to him.
For the board in the past, perhaps he can go quickly.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, I'll go quick. Go ahead.
So, Mr. Chairman, this application is with respect to property at 231 Maxim Drive, and as you indicated, there are 5 existing single-family kind of seasonal bungalows on the property.
Haven't they been raised already?
Well, there were 5. I guess the Gordons or Mr. Lesh took those down.
Yeah.
The application is to build one smaller home than what the Gordons had an approval for on the property. That the Gordon application essentially created a box with setbacks for what his front, rear, sides, and height were. Mr. Lesh's application is completely within that approved box, if you will. We do have 4 variances with respect to the Lesh application, and those quickly are, there's building height is a variance. Your ordinance permits 35 feet. The proposal is that Mr. Lesh's home would be 35.52 feet. The Gordon application was a little higher at 37.3 feet. There's a variance application for the steep slope disturbance. Your ordinance permits disturbance of slopes greater than 15% at 2,500 square feet. We will be disturbing 5,302 square feet. Again, a similar variance was granted for the Gordon plan. We have a variance also for the structure being within 50 feet of the lake. The Gordon plan was set at 30 feet, and the Lesh plan is at 32.8 feet. So again, we improved that situation a bit. And there's a side yard setback variance. The minimum side yard setback of 15 feet is what the ordinance permits. We have a portion of the stairs on the side of the home that encroaches into the side yard at 7.4 feet, and the Gordon plan was at 7 feet. So again, we've improved that situation by roughly half a foot. What I'd like to do is have Mr. Stewart review the plan with you. Mr. Lesh is actually a registered builder. He and his wife Lori intend to live in this home, in fact. And Mr. Lesh is more than qualified to review the architectural plans if you have questions after we hear from Mr. Stewart. So as Mr. Haggerty indicated, Fred, you have testified before this board on previous occasions, is that correct?
That's correct.
Right. And so, Mr. Chairman, has the board accepted Mr. Stewart, or do you want him to go through those qualifications?
We've accepted him in the past. I see no reason not to accept them at this time.
Okay.
Anybody
Thank you,
disagree?
Fred.
Okay.
Fred, would you take us through the application and what the differences are between the Lesh plan and the Gordon plan, please?
Sure. As you know, this was previously approved, but we did scale down the project. And I'll just outline the major differences. The previous approval had a 4,750 square foot footprint. We are proposing a 3,116 square foot footprint. That's a reduction of approximately 1,600 square feet right there. The approved proposed plan contained a pool area. We do not have a pool area. And we are decreasing the impervious coverage by 415 square feet from what was previously approved. With this, we are also scaling down the variances that were received. I'll start with the side yard setback. The previous approval had 10.4 feet. We are proposing, previous approval had 10.4 feet and 7 feet. We are proposing 16.6 feet to the house, so that's an increase of approximately 6 feet. And we are proposing 7.4 feet to the steps, not the deck, to the steps for the deck on the side yard that's alongside the, I'll call that a right-of-way, a private right-of-way on the right-hand side of the project. A side yard setback to the accessory structure, previous approval was at 7 feet, and we are not proposing any accessory structure on the site. The rear yard setback, the previous approval had 16 feet to the deck. We are proposing 20.4 feet to the deck. That's an increase of 4.4 feet in the setback, and that would be the rear yard, which is actually on the lake side of the property. The building height previously approved was 2 stories at 37.3 feet. We're proposing 2 stories as well, but at a reduce down to 35.52 feet, where 35 feet is required. Another variance would be for the structure within 50 feet of the lake. The previous approval had 30 feet to the deck. We're proposing 34.7 feet to the deck from the lake and 32.8 feet to the steps. So it's basically an increase of 2.8 feet to the steps and 4.7 feet to the deck. As far as the steep slopes go and critical slope disturbance, the previous variance was granted for disturbed areas of 15% plus slopes, which 2,500 square feet is the maximum allowable. I did not see it, but on the previous plans, it did not list the amount that was actually being disturbed. We are disturbing 5,302 square feet of slopes greater than 15%. So I do believe we're probably about the same amount of disturbance on the project, mainly because of the removal of the existing dwellings on the site. As Mr. Aller stated, there's 5 existing structures on the site, all of which are being removed or were removed just recently. And we are proposing just 1 single-family home on the site with a garage area and, of course, a driveway which could accommodate proper turning around and parking for visitors and the like. Because basically on Maximum Drive, as you all know, there's really no on-street parking, especially in this area.
And Fred, do you have an opinion as to whether or not the Lesh plan is consistent with other homes in the area?
Yes, I do. I
What is
believe
that?
it's, especially to the one right next door to us. That one has a fairly large footprint with a garage area as well, and multiple decks, actually, multiple story decks. And that's the one to the north of us. So yeah, it is consistent with the area.
Thank you. Mr. Chairman, I don't have any other questions for Mr. Stewart.
I have a question for Mr. Stewart. On your responses to Mr. Rushke's letter as of March 29th, 2019, number 9 indicates the proposed walls do not exceed 4 feet in height. However, I was down to the property the other day, and when you go down to the property and you look back up to the road, in the left corner, that wall is well over 4 feet high. As a matter of fact, it's probably over 6 feet high. What do you have to say about that, sir?
We are regrading that area. What we're going to do there is basically fill up against that wall that's existing. That used to be one of the dwellings on the property was tucked into that corner. And
Yeah.
what we propose to do is to grade up to it and take some of the fill that we were excavating for the proposed house and place it against that wall to reduce the height down to 3 feet. On the grading plan, where you see it on the right-hand corner where you're talking, we have 2 elevations of a top wall of 940 and a bottom wall of 937. That's a 3-foot high wall in that area.
Yeah, I don't see the grading plan. I don't see
That would
any
be on
grading
sheet
plan. I
1.
don't see any architectural plans.
Fred, are you able to share your screen and just point that out?
I could share if I'm allowed to.
Absolutely, you can.
There we go.
Okay.
Okay. Oh, I'm viewing Danielle's screen. Okay. Danielle, if you can scroll over down to the bottom left.
Why don't you
There
put
we-
your plan up so you can scroll?
Okay. There we go. Can you see that now?
There we go.
All right, good. I'll just zoom in here. I'm assuming this is the area that you're talking about with the exposed wall at this point being about, I'm sorry, 6-7 feet, Mr. Gilbert?
Yes.
Okay. Yeah, right in here, we are proposing, I'm sorry, this is the existing wall as it is now, which was the former building. We're proposing a wall along the bottom of the slope as it slopes up to Maximum Drive going in this direction here. We're proposing another wall circumventing our area, our disturbed area. And within this area here, our top wall is going to be at 940, which is the existing grade, by the way. And the bottom wall is going to be at 937. So that's going to be a 3-foot high wall in that area there. We're actually taking the fill and we're pushing some fill up against it from the driveway into it. So we're going to be filling it against that existing wall to lessen the height of it.
Okay.
Okay.
Yeah, well, yeah, if you say so.
Is that wall the foundation from the old house? Or is
That's
that,
correct.
was that a wall?
No, that's a wall. That's boulders
Well,
that are
that was a
stacked
wall.
on top of one another.
When I took down the house, there's the old foundations, was back there. It was part rock, part foundation, it was so old. But I had to build a wall, tier wall there to hold the road back after I took down the cottage.
Right.
Because it was way too steep. If I didn't build that, that would have washed right out. So if you look to the right of that, if you're down below and if you're looking to the right towards the road, that wall is only about 4 feet high from the original grade. Everything to the left was the slab and the foundation. That was all dug out, and that all has to be built up quite a bit. Just hasn't been done because we're waiting to build the house. But
So the original wall was,
rock wall had to be made to hold the road back, and that's what was kind of there. It was like a rock wall foundation / rock wall, and then they had a slab and stuff up there where to put garbage cans, and all that was removed and then cleaned up the proper way.
And you're going to be able to put something in there that's only a 3-foot wall? And it's going to
Well,
hold
what's the height? The height is 4 feet. The highest you can be is 4 feet without a permit, without
4 feet.
engineering plans.
Correct.
Yeah.
Whatever the grade is what we're going to make it. What Fred has on the plan.
Yeah.
Okay.
The plan
Fred,
says 3.9 feet max.
Maximum. Yeah, that would be our standard detail for walls that do not require basically a construction permit. But we are proposing 3 foot in this area here and 2.5 foot over in this section here, which is over towards the left-hand side of the property, and then basically down to 0 elevation or zero height in this area.
Oh, that doesn't concern me. It's just that, that one corner as you first come down the drive.
Yeah.
Sam, because this is so steep, does that have any bearing on the height of this wall and the inch necessary to make sure it's going to retain everything uphill of it?
Sorry, on mute. Not per the building requirements. The building requirements are a 4-foot height. I mean, should there be any field changes that wall needs to exceed 4 feet in height, Mr. O'Connor in the construction department would require that signed and sealed stability calculations are submitted for the wall. I'm sure if that were the case, Mr. Stewart would do that if that was required.
Yes.
That's how it's written in the code. So it doesn't stipulate any further than that.
And as far, sorry, if I might add to that, basically there was a building here that had probably a 9-10 foot high wall within it supporting this area up above it as well, which was actually a driveway, by the way. That was a former garage.
Right, just a lot has happened to the geometry of that area on a steep slope. And if it did have that size wall holding it back, it just seems now I'm going to 3-foot wall that has no engineering other than it's a rock. Just think that's a little ambiguous.
So
Yeah,
do
but
I.
we're basically filling that area. We're not cutting. We're putting fill up against the wall, making it higher on the low side and keeping existing grade on the high side.
And that's going to keep the road from collapsing on it.
Yes.
Okay. And
Mr. Stewart, how many bedrooms is this house?
I don't see any architectural plans at all.
We do have architectural plans. I can have Mr. Lesh describe
I
what
have them.
house is that he's building.
Well, why don't we have plans?
We have,
Not plans, Alan. Why didn't you get them?
I didn't. Oh, okay. I just didn't get them. That's all right. You have them?
Yeah, I got them.
I'm able to share them if need be.
They're up now. So do we know how many bedrooms are
It looks-
proposed?
Looks like a nice house.
I believe it's 4 bedrooms. I'll check on that though.
Yes, it's
Or
four-
Jerry, do
four
you know how
bedrooms.
many bedrooms?
Jerry, can you tell us how many bedrooms are in that house?
There's 4 bedrooms and there's 3 baths.
The reason I'm asking about the number of bedrooms pertains to the size of the parking area you have proposed. I mean, understanding that you've decreased the coverage from the previously approved application, just looking, if you want to pull up the lot grading plan quickly.
Well, I have 2 kids and the 1 bedroom's going to be used as actually an office, a home office, so.
Mhm. So, my question is related to the size of the parking area. Has there been any consideration to decreasing it in any way, or, based on the number of cars that you will have at the house, is this the size that you ultimately need in order to meet your needs, or can it be reduced in any way?
I don't want to reduce it because the reason why is because there's absolutely 0 parking on the street in front of my house. I have a guardrail that comes around the corner and you cannot park anywhere. There's not even a little shoulder that you can pull on. So the people that visit me and family comes over, they need to pull down and park on my property. So,
And get out.
And Ms. Anello, we've actually reduced the amount of lot coverage from the Gordon plan, and we're roughly 3% below what's the maximum set forth in the ordinance.
Understood. Mr. Stewart, kind of just going into this question, how do you plan to manage the runoff that's coming off of this pretty large paved driveway area? Can you, I know there is a trench designed into the plan. Can you, explain that to the board and how that's going to work?
Sure. What we did is created a low point over in this section here, which is to the right-hand side of the dwelling. Here's the dwelling. This is the garage area. So as you can see, the natural flow of water is going in this direction. So what we did was basically work with the land as well. Took and forced a low point by grading right in this section. And this shaded area here is a proposed stone-filled trench, which is basically exactly what it says. It's a trench filled with stones, and what it does is allow the sediment to filter out within the top of the stones and takes some of the runoff, filters through the stones, and is able to infiltrate into the ground area. But for the most part, the surface runoff will be directed to here and flow through that, filtering out some of the larger sediment before it goes into the lake as it does now. We are also directing the roof leaders towards that trench, and they will be emptying into that trench as well. The reason why we didn't, I'm sorry, go ahead.
Is there a storm sewer along that section of highway?
I don't believe so.
Not that I know of, no. I haven't seen any. This is basically a hill coming down this way. And I don't know where the next one would be, but I know it's not within 50 feet of this property, that's for sure.
And you're at the low point, in that dip, aren't you?
Well, this
no, this keeps going. This
Going
keeps
down?
Going down.
Okay.
Yes.
the road goes, there's no road runner, there's no water that comes from the road to the property at all. Because it slopes right down. It keeps on going down towards the bottom of Maxim Drive.
Yeah.
So there's no water that goes, the only water that comes down there is the water that comes off the driveway going down and the water from the property itself.
Yeah, the runoff is fairly controlled on Maxim. Sorry.
Any proposed dry wells?
No, mainly because of restrictions on the site. We have an existing well, which is right in this section here. And then we have a septic area over here. So the dry wells, only logical placement would be, of course, on the low side of the property in this area, which the lake is right adjacent to it. And this is pretty low-lying area compared to the lake. As you can see, there's an elevation of 926 right through here, and then up to 928. So there's, as far as separation from the actual lake itself in elevation, it's very minimal in that area behind the house.
Okay, anybody else from the board?
How does that runoff compare to the 5 cottages that used to be there when you talk about roof area, capturing all the water, the runoff? Before you had little rooftops, even though it was 5 houses, and they could disperse the water a little easier. Now I have this much bigger structure and drive it right to the lake.
Understand.
That gravel trench acts like a big dry well.
Correct. To a point. Not completely effective, but to a point.
Okay, so basically my zoning table, which is over on the side, right here, maximum building coverage percent allowable is at 15. Existing, which was the 5 bungalows, is at 15.9%. Proposed is at 10.2%. So there's over a 5%. It's 5.7% reduction for the building coverage on the site.
What about lot coverage?
So we're at basically 2/3 of what it was. Lot coverage, it's right there too. Allowable is 25%.
Right.
Existing, which were the 5 bungalows and driveway and all the other associated improvements, is at 23.5%. We're proposing 22.2%, which is another decrease of the coverage.
That looks a little bit more than 22% or whatever. But have to see that calculation.
I do believe that it was.
Wish you could do something more with the water and drop that house down 5 inches so you're under the 35 feet.
Yeah, personally myself, I like the way the house looks and the structure. And even though that it's less than what the other guy was proposing, I like it.
I like the look of it. I'm just saying, let's stick 5 inches down in the ground and not have it another variance. You always try to limit the variances, Rich.
Yeah. Agreed.
Realistically, 5 inches is next to nothing. That's a de minimis
Agreed.
area.
We already approved it though at a bigger height, and he's actually reducing it to making it better.
Correct, but it's a second bite at the same apple. I'm just asking, we reduce variances, we make neighbors happy too. Just saying.
You couldn't see that 5 inches if you tried.
Exactly.
And why do we
Mr.
need?
Duncan, we're taking that house down 2 feet from what was previously approved.
Understood, but then we lose the whole variance. That's my only point.
Well,
I'm
there's
not-
certain conditions on the site.
But just saying,
There's certain conditions on the site that would make that a little bit difficult. One, we are at, like I said earlier, near the lake level at the lower side of the property. So we're keeping the basement up, of course, the lowest level up from that area. So we can't simply just drop it down into the ground deeper. That wouldn't work well because then we'll be
didn't
below the
frame
water.
that 5 inches lower on the peak? Really?
That's not for me to answer, but, because I'm not the architect on the project. But as I'm trying to explain, from there, floor to floor makes a difference, because then we are affecting the actual grading plan that I have, which then would create less of a slope going towards the east side of the property, like I just explained, going towards that swale, draining the property towards that swale. So again, that could cause some issues there.
I would drop line level.
So if I understand this overall structure is 2 feet lower than the original structure that was there.
Correct.
No,
No.
there were 5 structures there.
Okay.
2 feet lower than what we had approved
Existing
from Mr.
approval,
Gordon.
yeah.
The previous structure,
Oh, okay.
the maximum height was 26 feet.
Okay.
According to the zoning requirement list, it lists the previous height at 26 plus or minus on the other properties, the other houses that were torn down.
Yeah, the existing home was at about 26 feet plus or minus for the building height. The previous approval was, I believe, at 37.2, if I remember correctly.
Yeah, and we're at 35, 2 feet difference.
Correct.
Lower.
35
Right,
high.
37.3 feet was the previous approval, which basically, yes, it's almost 2 feet difference in the height reduction that we're proposing compared to what was just recently approved back in 2019.
Understood. I'm just saying, could we lose 5 inches in the framing and get rid of another variance? We keep giving them out wholesale. That's all. Lose it in the roof. The roof is very high. Put the elevation back up, please. The peak of that house, you can't lose 5 inches? You kidding me?
Well, the problem is then the slope of you bring it down 5 inches, then the slope of the roof goes down further, which makes it, doesn't look appealing. You're making a more flatter of a roof. And that's a big deal in terms of living on the lake with the wind blowing and the snow and everything, and to get that snow and the rain off that roof faster and no ice building up and everything else. I'd rather have a steeper roof, be honest with you. I really think it looks a lot better that way.
Be honest, I'm an architect and a builder myself, and that's not going to make one damn difference for that. No, not in one day in hell is that going to make a difference with that 5 inches coming down.
Keep in mind, you are looking at the roof as you're coming down Maxim Drive due to the slope of the property, and we are sitting lower than Maxim Drive. That's going to be your focal point. And from what I can see on this, the architect did a fine job in the design of this, separating the shingles from your metal roofing there and everything. It's very attractive. And I don't know if it's actually going to be more than 5 inches. It's actually going to be 6.5 inches because it's at 0.52 above. So that would be at basically 6.25 inches is what we need to make up.
The road is so high from the property, you'll never notice that. The road is,
no,
and I'm not disturbing anybody that's on the other side of the street. They can see right over the top of my house and see right through the lake because the road is so high. And then the other guys on the other side of the street, their properties are even higher because they're up on the hill a little bit more. So I'm not even bothering anybody's view from the lake at all from across the street. I don't want to sink the house lower into the ground because you're right on a lake and, you're going to be getting a water problem.
I would recommend that anyway. That's not what I was saying.
Right.
Jerry, is that 5 inches perceptible to anyone?
I mean, if it's something that I got to get if it's just going to, if it's gonna be a big deal for 5 inches, I have to do what I gotta do, but I really don't wanna do that. I want, and then I gotta change all the plans and change the calculations and change everything.
And again, we're 2 feet lower than what this board previously approved on this property.
Yeah.
Past tense. Are we gonna get validation that this height doesn't exceed that? That we don't creep up higher?
There'll be, does your town require an as-built at the end? 'Cause
Yes.
then there would be an as-built.
Yeah. I have to have an as-built, yeah, of course I do.
Yep.
But I just don't understand why 5 inches is such a big deal. When I'm 2 feet lower than.
Sorry, it's just not the definition of a variance, not so much the perception of it. It's a very high roof. It's not intentionally designed to mess with the design. It's to eliminate one more variance on another property. We give them out so often and so many, and here I have a very high steep roof. I'm looking to take it down just to eliminate the variance, not because.
Bob, I understand what you're saying and I appreciate it, but this is why we're here. We're here to make these calls, right? And 5 inches to me, on a plan like this house looks great. It would be an asset to that area. I think 5 inches is not going to make a heck of a lot of difference.
Is there any way we can do something with the water runoff a little better to contain it so we don't have as much running into the lake? That's my other issue.
Well, we have a letter from the Lake Hopatcong Commission that I'm sure Colleen is going to refer to when I open that to the public.
We haven't seen that letter yet.
No, I don't imagine so. That we just got it this morning.
It was up on the internet.
Well, it's dated February 1st. So.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Well, it wasn't emailed to us, but I'm sure we're able to address any questions.
Okay.
I can send that out tomorrow.
Okay. Anybody else from the board? Then I will open it up to the public. Would anybody from the public like to comment or question this application at all?
Fred, I need you to lower your screen, please, because I need to see the rest of the group.
Right.
Thank you.
Anybody?
There we go. Colleen, you're on.
Colleen, go ahead.
Hi again.
Hello.
I need to be sworn back in?
The testimony you're about to give will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
I do.
And you're speaking on behalf of the Lake Hopatcong Commission?
Yes. So again, the commission really just reviews these applications to see if there could be any impacts to water quality around the lake, and seeing how you are reducing the intensity of use on the property from not only what's existing, but also what was proposed by the former applicant. I think you are doing what you can to reduce impacts to the lake, but just one concern, well, I guess maybe two concerns. The first is that trench leading from the parking area down to Lake Hopatcong. I am not an engineer. I'm a biologist, ecologist by education, but I'm just wondering if maybe a vegetated swale or some other green stormwater infrastructure could have a better removal rate of nutrients or sediments before it reaches the lake. And then our other comment, sorry, I'm just referring to our letter. The adjacent lot 39, it looks like the driveway does go towards that lot, and I'm wondering if that's part of the applicant's property or not.
Lot 39, yeah, lot 39 is a separate property. We have an easement over lot 39 to access the Lesh property.
Okay, all right. So then the concern was really just that it looked like there was some erosion on that property that could be dealt with, but it's not your property to deal with. So, and apologies on the letter being submitted yesterday. We received it Friday, the application on Friday afternoon. So that was about as quick as I could get it turned around.
And appreciate your doing it that quickly.
Thank you, Colleen. Would anybody else from the public like to comment or question anything at all about this application? If so, please go to the bottom of your screen and click on reactions, raise your hand. Seeing none, I'll bring it back to the board. Would somebody from the board want to make a motion?
I'll make a motion to approve it as is, as presented.
Second.
Second.
Mr. Bongiovanni? Mr. Duncan?
Yes.
Mr. Gaffney?
Yes.
Mrs. Crock?
Yes.
Mr. Riley?
Yes.
Mr. Toppin?
On.
Yes.
Councilman Schindler?
Yes.
Mayor Francis?
Yes.
Mr. Gilbert?
No. Okay, Mr. Lesh, you have your approval.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
As I explained to the previous applicant, you can either wait a month until we memorialize this, or you can request a waiver of memorialization if you want to get started right away.
Would we request that of you now?
Yes.
I think we would like to do that.
Okay, somebody want to make a motion for a waiver of memorialization?
So moved.
I'll make the motion. Second.
Second.
Mr. Bongiovanni?
Anthony? He said yes.
Mr. Duncan?
Yes.
Mr. Gaffney?
Yes.
Mrs. Crock?
Yes.
Mr. Riley?
Yes.
Mr. Toppin?
Yes.
Councilman Schindler?
Yes.
And Mayor Francis?
Yes.
Okay, Mr. Lesh, you have your waiver of memorialization. You can go into the construction department and begin pulling permits tomorrow.
Perfect. Thank you very much.
Whenever
All right, thank you, everyone.
Have a
Okay,
good night.
thank you, gentlemen, for coming tonight.
Thank you.
Appreciate it.
Thank you for your testimony.
It's one of the benefits of being virtual. I thought this would have been a meeting that would have been canceled because of the storm if we were all in person.
It would have
That's
been,
right.
Yeah,
would have been canceled. Yep,
yes. All right, have a good night. Thank you.
thank you.
Thank
Take
you.
care, guys. Thank you.
Bill, do you have a zoning officer report?
We're good.
Okay, discussion, is there anything that we need to discuss? There are no resolutions. The only correspondence that I got was the two that we've already taken care of. Escrow refund to Peter Knoll, information only. Shall we pay the bills?
Pay the bill.
Pay the bills.
Second.
Mr. Bongiovanni?
Yes.
Mr. Duncan?
Yes.
Mr. Gaffney?
Yes.
Mrs. Crock?
Yes.
Mr. Riley?
Yes.
Mr. Toppin? Ron?
Ron?
Councilman
said
Schindler?
Yes.
Yes. Yes.
Okay,
Yes.
Mayor Francis?
Yes. With my
Mr.
dog.
Gilbert?
Yes.
With my dog.
She's sleeping behind me.
Ah.
She's sleeping.
Okay, I will now open the meeting to the public. Would anybody from the public like to make any comments or question anything that the board is involved in? If anybody from the public wants to speak at this time, please go to the bottom of your screen to reactions and raise your hand. Mara?
Mara, you on? Unmute. There you go. Mara, you on?
Okay. I'd just like to congratulate Mr. Riley on this appointment to the Environmental Commission and wish him good luck. That's it.
Thank you very much, Mara. Phil, you hear that?
Got it.
Okay, anybody else from the public want to comment? Want to mention anything at all? Okay, seeing none, I will bring it back to the board. Old business? New business? In that case, we are adjourned.